Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'm going to be launching a brand new series here on my YouTube channel called Loaders Lane to Cheltenham, and that's going to be exactly what it says. Over the next several months I'll be making these hopefully every week, and we'll be looking at some of the Antepost market moves for the Cheltenham Festival. We'll be looking at some of the clues along the way, seeing what horses we should be backing, and at the end of these videos as well I'll give you an Antepost selection. I'll at least give you one each week, so I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that with you guys. But if you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you're liking these videos. Also as well, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe here to my YouTube channel, where you'll get a notification every time I upload a video, so hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do, where my handle is @LuckyLoaders15. So let's get stuck into this video. Looking forward to unearthing some Cheltenham clues, seeing what's been happening in the early parts of the jump season, and hopefully we'll be able to find an anti-post bet or two. Now, in the first part of this video, I'm going to be looking at some of the recent market movers in the Antepost Cheltenham markets. Now, it's been a quiet time of late for the jump season. If you're not familiar with the jumps game, obviously we don't normally get too many horses, we don't get too many Cheltenham clues in the summer. It's normally at this time of year, once we get into September and October, the stars start coming out and we start hearing about season targets, we start seeing their seasonal debuts, and we see whereabouts they are at in their campaign. And there's been a little bit of activity over the last few weeks. One of the markets that's shifted a little bit is the Champion Hurdle. Now, we saw Goshen return at Haydock recently, a couple of weeks ago. You might remember, or probably most people watching this video will remember, last year when he fell at the last flight of hurdles, where he didn't fall, he unseated Jamie Moore, but when he looked like he was certain to win, and then he just unshipped Jamie and the whole world felt gutted. I wasn't on Goshen that day, and to be fair, he definitely proved me wrong. He was a horse that I thought that Cheltenham, it just wouldn't suit him, and I thought we would finally see him flop. But to be fair to Goshen, he put what I think it was actually quite a useful field to the sword, and he definitely should have won that triumph if he had cleared the last. Now, a lot of people after that performance were already talking about the Champion Hurdle for next year, and also as well maybe a bit of a flat campaign. A lot of people thought maybe there was some talk of him being a cup horse. So he was put away after that for a while, and obviously we've had the lockdown, and he didn't come out until fairly recently for a spin, at least on the flat anyway. And he ran at Haydock, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot of expectations for him to go and show everybody what he's made of. And in the end, he ran below market expectations. He was a short price favourite that day, and a lot of people thought that he was probably going to be rated at least 100 plus horse on the flat. Now, I didn't back him, I never got stuck into him. I was just one of those people that would just sit and watch how he did, and in the end he just didn't have any of the zest that he showed from last season, especially as well over jumps. And to be fair, it's hard to know what to make of that performance. I think you have to give him another chance. Obviously, that was on the flat, and we haven't seen him over hurdles since the triumph. So it'd be interesting to see what campaign Gary Moore does. But I wouldn't want to be getting stuck into Goshen anyway for the triumph hurdle. I'd like to see him with a little bit more experience over hurdles before arguably stepping up into better company. So yeah, Goshen, he has been a talking horse for a lot of the summer for the Champion Hurdle, but for me, I'll be erring on the side of caution and wouldn't want to be getting stuck into him until he runs again. Now, the other mover in the Champion Hurdle market that's taken shape, especially as well in the last few days, was St. Roy, who won the county hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival last year, was very impressive and landed a little bit of a gamble in the end, was very well fancied, and he's a really likely racehorse in the colours of JP McManus. He's trained by Willie Mullins as well, who you don't normally associate having too many horses with JP McManus, so it's interesting that he is trained by him. But this horse, St. Roy, definitely looks like he could be a potential improver this season. He won really well on his seasonal reappearance the other day in a Grade 3 hurdle, so he did the job really nicely then. And he's actually cut up in price a little bit now. He's around about 10 to 1 shot generally across the board, and I think that's still a little bit of value. I'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show again, but St. Roy, I could definitely see him improving, and I think he could be an exciting one in the Champion Hurdle division. We then go with another horse that's attracted a little bit of support in the Antepost Cheltenham markets, and that's Princess Zoe for Tony Mullins. Now, she's due to go to the Mares Novice, and obviously she's going to have attracted a lot of attention because of her win the other day in the Group 1 in the Prix de Cadran at Longchamp. Great story there with Joey Sheridan, Tony Mullins. It was a bit of a strange race in the end because the winner looked well clear at one point, but she just kept finding. She's been a great mare for Connections, won at the Galway Festival, I remember, and has done very well. And the plan is to now go over Timber and see what she can do. Obviously, on her flat form, you would think she's got a standout chance, but we're going to see a lot more mares come through, and the Mares Novice race can sometimes be a bit of a tricky one. You might remember a few years ago we had some big price winners. I think the first four or something a couple of years ago were all like 50 to 1, 66 to 1. It was when Noel Feely actually had his last Cheltenham Festival winner. Seems like an age ago now. But yeah, if I wanted to be getting stuck into that race, even I think she's around about 7 to 1 generally across the board, I want to be steering clear, and I would like to see a few more novices come out, and obviously we will be seeing more mares, probably from the likes of Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott probably have a few, Nicky Henderson, Paul Nicholls, you know, all the established names in the game. It'll be interesting to see what ammunition they bring to the table, but yeah, I wouldn't be getting stuck into Princess Zoe at the moment, but if you fancy her, why not? But for me, yeah, I'd rather sit and wait. Now the other horse that I will talk about as well, a lot of people were talking about him on Sunday, and it was a race that quite a few people, especially as well, who love the National Hunt game and watching them, weren't watching the Arc. Now that was the novice chase, so you Toxter, and everyone was waiting to see the return of Ematom, who was confirmed by Warren Greatorex that he was going chasing this season. Now, I think Ematom did the job really well in the jumping department anyway. I think he jumped his fences really well in the main. He was up there front, he looked like he was giving them a lot of respect and jumping quite well, but in the end he just lost out to Hurricane Harvey of Fergal O'Brien's. I'm not sure what to really make of the result really. Hurricane Harvey had some good form as a hurdler, and Fergal O'Brien's stable have been flying this season. I don't know if Ematom needed the run, I don't know if he was running over the wrong trip. He was around about 20 to 1 shot if I remember before Sunday for the RSA. He's now been pushed out to 33 to 1. Will I want to be getting stuck into that? No, I wouldn't want to be getting stuck into Ematom. I know he has a bit of a loyal fan club out there. There's a lot of people that do like this horse, but I've never really brought into the hype. I never really brought into the hype around him when he was a hurdler. Yes, he trained some good ability, but I just thought he was a really hard horse to really predict and to really know what you're going to get with him. But yeah, Ematom, I thought he jumped well in the main on his chase debut, but I would like to see him out again. And also as well, I'd like to see him over slightly further to see if he would be a player over 3 miles. So yeah, I think it was a nice chase debut, but again, he's not a horse that I will be wanting to get stuck into at this stage. So yeah, there's been a few market clues in the last few weeks, a few market movements, like I said, in recent weeks, as some of the stars are starting to come back now, and that's what we're going to get onto in the next part of this video. Now this week we welcome the Persian War meeting at Chepstow, and it's often seen as the traditional starting point really, where the jump season really gets going and it kind of overtakes the flat season on the turf. And there's always normally a few horses, there's always a few clues that run in the Persian War hurdle. We've had the likes of Time Hill win it last year. He went on to put a nice little run together, won the shallow hurdle at Newbury, and he ran a really respectable race in the Albert Bartlett. So it's always a meeting that throws up quite a nice bunch of promising horses and always leaves a few clues. And the horse that's leading the way in the market for the Persian War at the moment is McFabulous for Paul Nicholls. Now McFabulous, he actually won on this card a couple of years ago as a bumper horse, and a lot of people said that he could be the real deal. Now after that, he's been a little bit disappointing for Connections, but on his last couple of starts last season, it really did seem to suggest that Nicholls might have got to the bottom of him. He put some nice performances together. You might remember he won a race at Market Raisin. He then went to Kempton and he won a handicap really easily off a mark of 132. He's now rated in the mid 140s, and going to Chepstow on Friday, which is an unusual. I think they normally run that race on a Saturday, but it's on a Friday this year. But going back to McFabulous, I think he definitely sets the form. He's the one that they've all got to beat. He's actually a shade of odds on at the moment, but would I want to be getting stuck into those kind of prices? Probably not. It's just going to be a sit back and watch race for me. But I'm really unsure where they're going to go with McFabulous. There's been a few quotes around for the Stairs hurdle. You can get a quote of 20 to 1 with a few bookmakers for the Stairs hurdle, but for me, I'd rather sit and wait and see what he does. I am excited to see him return. You know, I do think maybe if Nicholls has continued to find improvement with him, he could be a horse to follow this season. But McFabulous, he's a horse that's always had a big reputation. But for me, I just enjoy watching him return on Friday and see how he does. But yeah, he's the one that they've got to beat in the Persian War. It doesn't look like a strong renewal this year. We saw a couple of nice horses in it last year, like I said with Time Hill, but I just think this year the renewal might not be so hot. So yeah, McFabulous, he's going to be the one to beat, but yeah, I'm not sure about backing him at the moment for any Cheltenham targets. So yeah, McFabulous, going to swerve him, and like I said, just be interesting to see how he gets on. Also as well, moving on to the Saturday at the Chepstow of the 2-day Persian War meeting, we've got a really good novice chase, and we're going to see the return of Fiddler on the Roof, who was a horse I was really keen on last season. Won the Tolworth hurdle and looked like he could be a major player in the Supreme, but in the end he was really disappointing. Not quite sure really why. In the end he was just really well beaten, but I think Connection said he was always going to be a chaser. You often expect a lot of Tizard's horses to become chasers. I'm looking forward to see how he does. At the moment you can get a few quotes around. I've seen, I think, 40 to 1 for the Arkle, 33 to 1 for the Mush. I think he'll actually probably get 2.5 miles over fences personally, but he's just a horse that I'd just be interested to take note and see how he does. You might remember, I think it was in this race last year, Reserve Tank, who was a group, or was a grade 1 winner over hurdles, actually fell short in this race, I think it was, to Jarvis Plate. So yeah, Colin Tizard's horses, you might just want to swerve them if you're having a bet on Fiddler Roof. It might not be the time to catch him on his chase debut. The other horse that we're going to be seeing in there most likely is Fusel Raffles for Nicky Henderson. Now he's a horse, when he won the race at the Adonis Hurdle at Kempton a couple of years ago, everybody thought, wow, what a nice horse. But then after that he had his injury problems and things were never really straightforward for him. I remember he flopped last year, if I remember, in one of the handicaps at the festival. So he's a horse that they've always thought a lot about in the colours of Simon Munier and Isaac Wade. He's always a horse that they've had a lot of time for, but yeah, he just had his problems last year with a couple of setbacks. But this year he's already made his chase debut. He won at Uttoxeter, where I thought he actually did the job quite well. I think maybe 2 miles for him might be on the sharp side. I think maybe he would maybe want slightly further, again 2.5, and this race is pretty much over 2.5. I think it's over 2 miles, 3 furlongs. Looking forward to see how he does and if he can take a step forward. But yeah, Fusel Raffles at the moment, he's had a couple of quotes for the Arkle and the Marsh Chase, but for me I'd want to be swerving Fusel Raffles. So yeah, there are a few names to note on the card at Chepstow. There's also as well another horse I'm interested to see is Tidal Flow for Philip Hobbs. He's going to be riding, or he's going to be hopefully going in one of the handicaps. Was a really nice horse last season, won a couple of nice races over fences. I think he's going to be one to follow in handicaps this season. Obviously it's a long way yet, can't bet on any handicaps at the moment for the Cheltenham Festival, but Tidal Flow, you know, he does have the potential maybe to improve this season, and I wonder if he might be targeted at one of the big handicaps, maybe the November meeting, or even the meeting coming up in a few weeks' time, or in a couple of weeks' time I should say, at Cheltenham. So I think he's definitely going to be targeted at a couple of nice handicap pots this season, and he's definitely going to be a horse you want to keep on side. So that's Tidal Flow there. And then moving on to Sunday, there's a nice card at Newton Abbot, and in particularly there's going to be a nice novice chase where we're going to see the return of Highway 102, who's one of my favourite horses in training. A lot of you that follow my work will know that I've been down Chris Gordon's a couple of times, and I was really keen on this horse, especially as well when he won at Kempton, when he won a Grade 2 novice hurdle. The plan always was with him to have a go over fences. He's quite an unusual type in the fact that he looks so free and he looks so keen, but it's just the way he likes to race. And in the end, with his speed up in front, he just has too much for his rivals. He reminds you a little bit of like Forheen in the old days when he used to go bowling on from the front. Obviously he's got a long way to go to be anywhere near the class of Forheen, but he did show a really good attitude last season, and a lot of his form as well did stack up. So Highway 102, the plan I think is to go for that race at Newton Abbot on Sunday, and it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. Not in too many markets I've seen for the Cheltenham Festival, but let's see how he does. I think he'll be an intriguing candidate going forward. Maybe a race like the old Close Brothers Chase could be potentially where he goes, but yeah, Highway 102, really exciting to see how he does. The other horse that's running in that race that we should be taking note of as well is Stormy Island for Harry Cobden and Paul Nicholls. Well, Harry's already got his name, but to her. But yeah, part of the Sullivan Bloodstock horses that are now moved from Willie Mullins to Paul Nicholls. He's got the likes of Lorena and a couple of other nice mares as well. Got quite a few mares actually, and it'd be interesting to see how she takes to her fences. For me, she's a horse that I think she'll definitely handle the transition really well. She had some really good hurdle form, especially as well running a couple of fair races behind stablemate Lorena a few times, and won a few graded races for Willie Mullins in Ireland. She's definitely going to be a fascinating contender, and she's another note to name later on this week. Now in this section of the video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A section where I want you to get in touch with me. You can leave a comment in the comments box below. You can reach out to me on Twitter as well, where my handle is @LuckyLoads15, and I'll answer your questions, anything Cheltenham related. If you fancy an anti-post bet or want me to give an opinion on it, let me know in the comments box below. Anything about Cheltenham you want me to answer, I'll do that, and I'll pick 2 or 3 every week. So yeah, just drop me a question in the comments box below. Get in touch with me on social media, and we'll be reading them out. Now this is the part of the show where I give an anti-post selection, and for episode 1 you're going to have a treat, as I'm going to give 2. Now the first one is going to be St. Roy for the Champion Hurdle. You can currently back him at 10-1, and I think if he goes on a little bit of a roll, there's talk that the Morgiana will be his next target. If he gets 1 or 2 wins in succession in his under his belt, I think his price is going to shorten, and I think he'll be vying it for favouritism in the Champion Hurdle. Now we've got the likes of Epatante still leading the way. She's around about 9-2 general price I've seen out there. Obviously got to really respect her chances. Was a really nice winner of the race last year. Won the Christmas hurdle at Kempton and really did improve. But she, to be fair, she came from the handicap ranks as well and progressed really nicely. And I could just see St. Roy doing that really well. I could see him transitioning into graded races really nicely. He's a horse that's got a lovely travelling style, you know, and he's got a good turn of foot, and I think he's going to be one of those horses that you're always going to see on the bridle, and it'll be how much does he have. And in a strongly run Champion Hurdle, I think he will be a dangerous player, and I think this is going to be the target. You might remember as well that JP's got a great record in the race. He's won it for quite a few times now in the last few years with the likes of Bouvardere, Epperton, also as well Espoir de Allen. And that's another thing as well. People were mentioning maybe because he's a 5-year-old. 5-year-olds don't have a particularly great record in this race. But like I said, I just think the trends of the Champion Hurdle have gone out the window in the last couple of years. Sometimes I think when we look at trends in certain races, and I'm going to be guilty of it as well, we look across a big range where sometimes we miss what the more recent statistics have been, and we're going off stats that maybe were 10 years ago. Yes, it's interesting to know maybe what happened 10 years ago, but I think sometimes, especially in these big races as well, the last couple of years is kind of the way you normally want to be looking. So yeah, I think the Champion Hurdle is still a really wide open division. Epperton, I think, is going to need to prove herself again if she's to own it, but I think St. Roy, who's still very lightly raced, hasn't really been tested in group company yet. I think at 10-1, if he goes and wins a couple of races, he's going to be a lot shorter price, and he could be fighting it out for favouritism in the Champion Hurdle market. My second Antepost selection for the Cheltenham Festival is going to come in the Mare's Chase, and I'm going to recommend an each-way bet on Stormy Island. You can currently back her at 20-1. That 20-1 was available with Sky Bet. Now, like I said, this bet could be short-lived, as she is going to be making her chase debut, or she's booked to make her chase debut at Newton Abbot on Sunday. Now, I just think that she could be a natural over fences. If you go back to when she was trained by Willie Mullins and running in some of those decent graded mares hurdles, she always gave her hurdles quite a lot of air, and she always looked like probably she should be going over a fence. She's quite an interesting horse as well. Tactically, you can often go and make the running with her. She's a horse that likes to normally be handy and normally be prominent, and if she jumps well, she might be able to put some of her rivals into submission, and I just think she could be the forgotten horse in this division. Now, a lot of people are going to be wanting to look at probably the likes of Honeysuckle, Benny's de Jure. We know that Benny can handle it over fences. She's won a couple of times. We've not seen Honeysuckle over fences yet. I think that is the plan for Honeysuckle this season. However, we still haven't seen her over a fence, and she might not like it, even though she does look like she is a chaser in the making. She's a really big butch mare, and she probably looks like she'll be able to handle fences no problem. But for me, Stormy Island at 20-1, showing some decent form in the past, has run some good races at Cheltenham. She could be a forgotten horse in this division, and at 20-1 each way, I think that's definitely a good each way price, especially as well if she wins at Newton Abbot on Sunday. So that's it on the first ever episode of the Loaders Lane to Cheltenham. Let me know if you've had any Cheltenham Antepost bets in the comments box below. What horses are you looking forward to seeing this week? Is there any horses at Chepstow that I didn't speak about that you're looking forward to seeing? Let me know in the comments box below. Also as well, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe here to my YouTube channel. Remember to give the videos a thumbs up as well if you're enjoying them, and you can follow me on Twitter where my handle is at LuckyLoaders15. So hopefully we can have some promising results, especially as well with Stormy Island on Sunday at Newton Abbot. Please gamble responsibly, and we'll be seeing you soon.